In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Glorious day, finally. It's not even humid. It's great. I can breathe. So that's the happy news I have for you, is it's a lovely day, because the rest of this sermon is not going to be happy. Whoever would gain his life will lose it. And if you want to be a follower of mine, you need to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. I didn't make those words up. You just heard them out of the mouth of Jesus. Now, Americans are terrible at denial, self-denial. Really good at denial of everything else. But denial is not a particularly good thing. As a matter of fact, the statistic that proves this is that there have been in my lifetime 3 Yankee stadiums. Okay, there was the one that was built in the 20s, there was one that was built in the 70s, and there's the new one, right? And during that time, the average size of an American rump grew by 3 inches each time they had to do it. So they actually lost seating because we have breadth of girth. We're not good at denial. And yet, Jesus says, if you would find your life, you must do denial. And I got to thinking about, well, why is that? And I think one of the reasons why comes from hundreds of years ago, when we as a nation were expanding westward, and the ideal person was the self-made person, the rugged individualist, or for those of you who remember this, John Wayne, right? Who stood alone against everyone to do what was right and good, and his wisdom was better than everybody else's, and we all aspired to be John Wayne. And then the women's movement hit, and we got Sally Fields. Remember Norma Ray, the woman who stood against everyone to be right, to do the right thing. And that ideal is ingrained in us. I think we probably by now have a gene for it. I think by now we believe that the best person is a person who can go it alone, who doesn't need anybody. I can remember the debates that we had in our political world between those people who despise the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Remember that one? And those people who castigated one of the presidential candidates because he said he was a self-made man. Remember that one? Okay. That is an ideal that we have. And what runs counter to that is our faith. Because at its very core, Christianity is not an individual religion. It is a communal religion. It is about being together as a community. It is about Jesus drawing all people to Jesus' self so that we can together live more fully and more abundantly. It means denying myself for the good of the community. And yes, some people have, I think wrongly, but at least pointed out, this smacks a little bit of communism. There's a new word that's floating around that's interesting to me, and I'm still not there yet, but I'm working on it. And that new word is communitarianism. Okay? Because it wants to distinguish itself from that idea of a kind of socialist economic system. And say, no, it is better for us if we belong to communities of health. Now, in some cases, but not all, a community of health could be your family. You know, in some cases, a community of health could be your church, or it could be the Boy Scouts, or it could be whatever. But in no case is it ever a team or a tribe. So we got basically, what I'm trying to say here is we got 4 kind of ideas. There's the idea of the rugged individualist who goes it alone. Then there is the team. Now the purpose of the team is a group, right? But why do you have a team? To beat other teams. That's the purpose. The purpose of the team is not to make the individuals on the team better, it's to make people not on the team worse. Okay? And then we have the tribe. And the best way to describe the tribe are Republicans and Democrats. I mean, they actually are fighting tribally in our Congress and have been for a lot of years. And I don't care whose side you're on, they behave as a group, kind of, sometimes. Okay? And as a team, because they want to beat the other side. But it's all tribal. It's all the way the tribe works. The fourth kind is a community who comes into being because it wants the best for each of its members. And the members have to deny themselves and go with the community, go with what the community says is the best for them. That's very un-American. It's hard for us to even think about doing that. But the fact of the matter is that together, you and I are wiser than I am, or than any one of you are. Together, if we ascribe to this life-giving, self-giving cross of Christ, together, we can do better for one another than we can do alone. The proof of that rests all over the place. All you have to do is look at the pictures coming out of Texas. I mean, I wrote about this in the e-news, but it just struck me as incredibly touching to see a Mexican, it looked like Hispanic-American man with a little pool flotation device and a little white girl, him dragging her out with the parents slogging behind them. There was no question of race, ethnicity. There was, we need to be together for the good of all of us. And so you see about that guy who was rescued. And he was literally rescued, and they got out, and he was free, and they said, where are you going? He said, I'm going back in to rescue somebody else. You see that kind of, and you know, we're calling it heroism. I want to call it humanity. I want to call it, that's who we are. And every one of those people that are risking themselves for others are doing exactly what the gospel says today. Let him deny himself, pick up his cross and follow me. And yeah, it's risky. You bet it's risky. But if we don't have that shared sense of community, if we don't have that shared sense that being a member of St. Philip's is something way more important than being a member of a tribe or a team. Being a member of St. Philip's is something way more important than advancing my own cause. If we don't have that, we are no church at all. And that's the task before us, particularly in this time as we're transitioning, is to trust, to begin to learn to trust that the community is trying its darndest to do the right thing for each of us. That the community is trying to say that we care about your growth. We care about your meeting God. We care about the growth of your faith. We care about your well-being. We care. And so we're going to act in harmony together to do the best we can. And your job, my job, is to subjugate that self in me that wants to say, but I know better. We're not doing it my way. So therefore I'm picking up my ball and going home. So we have a choice. You can pick up your ball and go home, or you can pick up the cross. The cross which unites us. The cross that makes us a community of people. The cross that I think will lead to eternal life.